नमस्कार। लॉ शील्ड एडवोकेट्स के इस विश्लेषण में सुप्रीम कोर्ट के तत्काल रिहाई निर्देशों को डीकोड करते हैं।
जमानत मिल गई फिर भी रिहाई नहीं, सोचने वाली बात है ना। आखिर ऐसा क्यों होता है?
दरअसल असली विलन है कागजी कार्रवाई। कोर्ट का आदेश जेल तक पहुंचने में ही लंबा वक्त लग जाता है।
इसे ही प्रशासनिक देरी कहते हैं, यानी रिहाई का फरमान जेल अफसरों तक पहुंचने में लगने वाला बेवजह समय।
सीजेआई सूर्यकांत और जस्टिस जॉयमाल्या बागची की बेंच ने अब इस लेट लतीफी को खत्म करने का कड़ा निर्देश दिया है। अब वो फिजिकल कॉपी वाला पुराना सिस्टम खत्म, कोर्ट्स को उसी दिन डिजिटल नोटिस भेजना ही होगा। सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने रिहाई की इस पूरी प्रक्रिया के लिए एक बेहद फास्ट और पक्की टाइमलाइन सेट कर दी है। नियम बिल्कुल साफ है, सुनवाई खत्म होते ही आदेश सुनाया जाए और तुरंत वेबसाइट पर अपलोड भी हो। चाहे जमानत हो, सजा पर रोक हो या रिहाई, जेल और निचली अदालत को सेम डे खबर मिलनी ही चाहिए।
और सबसे जरूरी बात, कैदी को उसी दिन या हद से हद एक दिन के भीतर रिहा करना होगा।
लेकिन ठहरिए, इस फास्ट ट्रैक रिहाई के कुछ गिने चुने कानूनी अपवाद भी मौजूद हैं जिन्हें समझना काफी जरूरी है। मसलन, अगर किसी दूसरी केस में कस्टडी चाहिए या फिर जमानत की शर्तें अधूरी हैं तो रिहाई अटक सकती है। सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने निचली अदालतों की पूरी जवाबदेही तय करने के लिए एक बेहद मजबूत सिस्टम बना दिया है। मतलब ट्रायल कोर्ट को रिहाई आदेश लागू करके सीधे हाई कोर्ट को अपनी कंप्लायंस रिपोर्ट सौंपनी ही पड़ेगी। यही नहीं, हाई कोर्ट्स के लिए भी रिजर्व रखे गए फैसलों को सुनाने की मैक्सिमम लिमिट अब 3 महीने है। ये बड़ा ऐतिहासिक बदलाव पीला पहान बनाम झारखंड राज्य केस से निकलकर आया है। इसे बिल्कुल याद रखें। क्या ये सख्त नियम वाकई बेवजह की कैद खत्म करेंगे? लॉ शील्ड एडवोकेट्स के सोशल हैंडल्स पर जरूर जुड़ें।
Welcome back to Law Shield Advocates, where we analyze the structural mechanics of the justice system. Today, we are looking at a specific flaw in judicial administration that keeps legally cleared individuals behind bars. Imagine securing a legal victory. A judge reviews your case and grants regular bail, suspends your sentence, or issues an outright acquittal. Under the law, you are free. Yet in physical reality, you remain locked inside a prison cell, sometimes waiting days for the gates to actually open. This delay has nothing to do with the law. It is the result of communication lags between high courts, trial courts, and jail authorities. This gap creates administrative detention, a period where a person is imprisoned by bureaucratic delay rather than a judicial decree. To eliminate this gap, the Supreme Court of India issued a strict set of operational directives. The court's position is that bureaucratic lethargy has functioned as an unconstitutional shadow sentence for individuals the law has already cleared. The mandate stems from a specific case, Peela Pahan versus the state of Jharkhand. What began as a localized issue regarding delayed release was addressed by the highest court in the country. A bench led by Chief Justice Suryakant and Justice Joymalia Bagchi designed the new protocol. The bench noted that favorable judicial orders were being routinely defeated by the administrative friction of lower courts. Obtaining the order was only the first step. Enforcing it was taking too long. To solve this, the Supreme Court deconstructed the release process into 3 phases, targeting the pronouncement, the communication, and the final execution. This strategy shifts the burden of urgency away from the prisoner's legal counsel and places it directly on the state's administrative machinery. The first bottleneck occurs in the courtroom, the delay between a judge verbally granting bail and the written document becoming available to the public. This flowchart illustrates the Supreme Court's release protocol. Starting at the bench, strict rules apply. Once a bail hearing concludes, the order must be uploaded to the website that exact same day. For reserved judgments, the absolute limit for uploading is the next day. This requirement for digital immediacy removes the historical excuse of waiting for paperwork to be typed and signed. Digitization is used here to ensure transparency the moment a decision is reached. But an uploaded document doesn't free a prisoner. The second bottleneck is how the trial court and the jail authority actually find out about the High Court's decision. Historically, physical documents had to transit between separate institutions, which could take several days while the individual remained in the cell. Phase 2 of the mandate requires the High Court to communicate the order independently and immediately. For orders granting regular bail, suspending a sentence, or delivering an acquittal, this communication must happen on the same day the order is passed. Jail authorities are now direct, immediate recipients of the legal data, so they no longer have to wait for the trial court to process and forward the notice. This parallel communication removes the information gap between institutions, preventing prison officials from holding prisoners while waiting for separate notifications from trial courts. This brings us to the final physical checkpoint, the prison gates. The Supreme Court set a hard deadline for physical release. Upon receiving the order, prisons must release the individual that same day, or by the next day at the latest. The next day window is the absolute maximum ceiling, not a flexible target. To prevent any misinterpretation, the court explicitly defined the only two scenarios where a prison can hold someone past this deadline. First, the prisoner is required to be held in remand for an entirely separate, active legal case. Second, the delay is caused by the prisoner's own inability to fulfill specific bail conditions, such as securing necessary sureties. Outside of these two scenarios, the jail authority has no discretion. They cannot hold an individual for administrative convenience. By removing operational discretion at the prison level, the Supreme Court has transformed physical release from an administrative decision into a mandatory legal trigger. Directives are only effective if they are enforced. How does the Supreme Court ensure that these timelines are followed on the ground? The court established a closed-loop accountability system. Trial courts are now legally bound to submit a formal execution compliance report once the prisoner is released. This report is sent directly back to the specific high court bench that passed the initial order. This provides judges with direct visibility into whether their specific orders are being executed according to the law. A judicial mandate without an audit trail often remains unenforced. This reverse reporting mechanism provides the High Court with a verifiable record of whether its deadlines were met. The Supreme Court also issued a final directive aimed at the higher tier of the judiciary itself to ensure consistency in court delays. High courts are now mandated to pronounce judgments on reserved cases within a maximum of 3 months. The Peela Pahan ruling has tightened the timelines across the entire system, from the High Court bench to the jailer's desk. The right to liberty is being protected against the friction of administrative processes. Once the judicial gavel falls, liberty is no longer a pending request. It is a 24-hour administrative guarantee. If you want to understand the structural changes in the legal system, subscribe to Law Shield Advocates. We'll see you in the next analysis.